today's topic. So stick around, and we have some good discussions to share with you. And here we go. So, what do you guys think of the topic about being late? You like the topic? I'm sorry? There's a lot that can be reason to be. Oh, cool, cool. How about the rest? Anybody would like to share your thoughts about the topic being late? Oh, okay. All right. I'm glad to hear that. Nobody discusses being late and how does it impact us. Really good. Any other thoughts? No? Relatable. Good. I'm really glad. And today we started the talk late. So it is relatable. And it's the whole idea is really to understand um, what goes on. I mean, this is what I wanted to change this topic because it's very, very common. We do it almost every day, if not like many times a day. And one of the most challenging part in being late is what? Sometimes is it makes us really stressed. You know, the second you figure out that you're late and you're like, oh, what can I do to compensate? You know, that's what we really want to do. We want to make up for being late. So what do we end up doing? I'm sorry? Lying, anxious. Mm, yeah. And then what else could we do to cope with being late? We speed. Ooh, we drive fast, we cut red lights, we cut off people, make up excuses. It's the traffic. My dog died for the third time. The dog, the cat was missing with me and hid my keys, my car keys, or whatever. You said something earlier? Oh yeah, to avoid being late, and they start to take shortcuts or something, and it ends up being twice as much as late. So you're fast, you're going really fast on the road, you get in a parking lot, you have this very slow person driving in the parking lot, checking every spot in front of them. It's all taken. You can see that across the whole aisle, but for some reason this person has to check every spot, and you're like, come on, I really need to move on. I'm really late. And then this guy end up making a turn and you take the other turn and you find the parking spot. You get on an elevator, you find the same person wants to get in front of you, and he wants to go check on every floor. Is it this floor? No, it's not this floor. Is it this floor? Is it not this floor? Have you experienced that? So that even adds on to us being more late, and that makes us more frustrated. And we end up really kind of be rude to that person. It's like, what are you doing? If you're not saying it out loud, you're really saying it to yourself. It's like, what is this guy doing? And you start calling them names and it really impacts our relationship with ourselves, relationship with our people, and the people around us. This could be maybe you're running for an interview, and this why is your interviewer. It's just like it can impact your situation as well. So it can happen, and the whole idea is the psychology of being late. There's something about procrastinating, but sometimes we're late for different reasons. What are some reasons that we're late? Because of what? Waking up late. That dream wouldn't end. I just had to see the ending. And I just wanted to see how the dream ends. And I mean, I'm just being sarcastic here. But yeah, sometimes we oversleep. Sometimes we don't hear the alarm. Sometimes we forget we put the alarm. Sometimes we don't, and speaking of alarms, guys, buy an alarm. Don't put your phone next to and don't use your phone as an alarm. Keep your phone away from your bed so you can get really good sleep, right? So it's really important to do that. Buy an alarm. It's like five ringgit, $5. It's not a problem. Yeah. Seven alarms? Are they like powered with electricity or battery? Really? Then there's an alarm that you can buy from the home store, from Home Pro or Home Depot. If you there's like Ace or something, you can buy like the alarm for fire. It really works. My cousin uses it. It works really well. Yeah. No, it's like an extreme high pitch. You can hear it a mile away. Yeah. I think it was used to wake up the whole neighborhood, but he uses it as a connection with the neighbors. But yeah, waking up late is a really important something that we can talk about. It's like not getting enough sleep. Going to, waking up late can also mean what? You're tired and also you went to bed late, right? So that's also, we need to understand this is, so being late is like a domino effect. You guys know the domino effect. It's like you click one domino, it just cracks it all. So if you're late, you need to understand, where did that start? So it could be tired, and you just went to bed early, or you went to bed on time, but you're tired, you're really exhausted, so therefore you slept over. What other reasons why we're late? You take on too much. Yeah, yeah. And how do we can talk a little bit more about how we can proactively prevent us from being late shortly. But what else could be causing us to be late? Being unwell, like not feeling well, feeling under the weather or something like that. Yeah. Yeah, traffic can be sometimes you're taking the same route. You leave home on time. You leave everything on time, but there's something happened on the way over, or the public transportation shut down for some accident or something. That somebody didn't pay the electricity bill for that. I don't know, but it could be for a lot of reasons. So, uh, but you cannot be. It cannot be traffic every day, right? So it's just yes. That's a really important point that you highlighted now. So this is the point. The comment I heard is that if somebody consistently late, it can relate to their mental health. Yeah, I mean that's a possibility. Yeah, and that's another cause. Um, if you're not really motivated, not excited, you're feeling down, you're feeling sad, you're feeling stressed, you're feeling burned out. All these are mental health status. If you're really dreading to go to work or to go to that place that you want to go to because there's some toxic person or some event that you really don't feel comfortable with, or you're gonna have to like public speak in front of people and you don't feel comfortable with, so you're dreading whatever you want to go to. That's another reason. So mental state or dreading what you want to have to face when you get there. These are all different reasons. Yeah, definitely. Any other reasons? One thing I'm really famous of, I get in the flow. Are you guys familiar with being in the flow? And you lose track of time. Loss of track of time is really, really common for me. And I have ways to remedy it, but sometimes I also don't take the correct measures to make sure that I don't get stuck in the flow. So being in the flow, like you're doing a task and you're really enjoying it and you're focusing so much on it that even in the loudest crowd or loudest environment, it really doesn't bother you. You cannot hear anything. Your phone rings. Your what you call it, reminders, pop notifications left and right. It really doesn't interrupt you in any way, but because you're focused in the task that you're working on, and that's really common to many people, and that can be good, can be causing you to be late, and consequences to that. So we talked about how do we cope with it, what causes it. What else can we talk about being late? How to reflect on it. Yeah. How can we learn from being late? What do we need to do? I mean, what for the purpose of us to prevent us from being late or to really help us to be on time. I mean, do you like to be late? Let us know. Is it really good for you to be late? You can put some comments and you have questions. More than happy to address it. Anybody here would like to be late? Is it good for you to be late? Yeah. Yeah. You should say something about you, right? For being late. Yeah. No, it makes you feel negative. Yeah. It says something about you that I'm not like everybody else. They're on time. How come I'm not? So there's self blame, uh, like, should pressure, you know? Yeah. Any other thoughts? I see. You're feeling guilty for the other person that they had to wait for you to show up. Hmm. Okay. So can we say like the guilt is really what makes us that defines how we cope? If we're guilty, maybe we want to run faster. And if you're running out of the apartment or your home, and you're driving fast, you're putting yourself at a higher risk, right? Because you're really running towards um, making up some time, but you end up probably putting yourself in trouble, and maybe you're much more late than you were supposed to or planned to. Based on basic mathematics, is like if you're driving on a highway for 10 kilometers, and if you're going like 30% above the speed limit, so if the speed limit is 100, you go 130. For 10 kilometers, you're saving only 3 minutes. That's it. But it feels like you're doing something. It feels good being fast, right? But the 3 minutes, is it worth it for you? This happens to me. I am that car that is like driving in front of that speeding car, and they go like high beaming, and they go around me here and they go around me there, and there's that, and then we all stop next to each other. I feel like I really want to roll down the window, and I was like, "Can you roll down the window?" I was like, telling him, "What was that all about?" Like, can you tell me what's that about? So I just wanted to get an understanding. So you've been bullying us back there, and look at us here, right next to each other in the same stoplight. And that's something that we all need to be mindful. But when it comes to cars, is really a lot more controllable. But when it comes to motorbikes, I mean, that's really crazy. Some motorbike drivers is really, I mean, it's just something that I cannot understand. What would be worth it for them to put themselves in such a risk of causing? I mean, I witnessed many accidents between motorbikes and cars, or motorbikes by themselves as well. You have a question? You have a comment? Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, you're self-compensating for the guilt. It kind of works with your impatience, excuse me, and wanting to be there. It feels good, but the savings is really not much. It's really not much. But in the moment, we don't think like that. We don't think about, is it, how much really is it going to save me? And that's really what it's all about. The risk is really high, or I should say the impact is really high, and the probability may be low, but the impact is very high. So therefore the risk is high. So if there's an impact, like the impact of the accident is significant. I mean, it just stops your trip, right? But the probability of it is really low. So therefore, that risk is high, or maybe very high. So because of the impact is high, yes. That's a really good point. That's really point. For all the things you've done, it's still not appreciated. You know, you're running really late. You're running late, and you run faster, and you make up. You try to make up for like a minute, but you're late, like late 5 minutes. But that minute, or even if you're late for 1 minute, for example, like you really need to give like uh, something on the dot, and you're late 1 minute, and you made up 4 minutes. You're still seen as 1 minute late, and you're not appreciated for it. And it's like all the things I've done, and I'm still not appreciated. I'm not acknowledged for all the hardship I had to go through and make up for 4 minutes. You're just being blamed for 1 minute. Come on. So people become very disappointed. It's like I'm not gonna. They're just to lose the motivation and all, but they're not doing it right. I mean, one first thing we need to do is like when you're running late, accepting that you're running late. That's very important. You're running late. That's it. Another cause people run late, or they go fast, or they, like in a road, or they rush around, is they want to make more money. Like the delivery motorbikes to do delivery, their whole goal is really to make more delivery in a day, just to kind of do service more people so they can make more money. So that's the main driver for them, that is pushing them to go faster. And it's not, and also maybe it could be a coda. I remember back in the days, there was one of the pizza delivery people in my neighborhood back when I grew up, and there has to be a coda on how much time it delivers the pizza from the shop to the home, and if you received it within more than 30 minutes, it's for free. So, and the company is like, if you're late more than 30 minutes, you pay 50% for the delivery guy or something like that. Or if they did do it very often, the guy is not going to be continuing his job or her job. So therefore, these quotas made people, and this was a really big report in the US. So in Northern California. And they had a report, and they saw cars, they monitored cars running red lights, going fast, going between cars, just to be able to say deliver on time. And that was changed as well. So companies were changed. I'm not sure here how flexible or how serious people really monitor this stuff to enforce companies to make sure that their staff or their people who deliver their services are also safe, and they're not putting other people in danger. Yeah, questions, thoughts? That's a good point. Yeah. 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 And the star system, it puts even more pressure. The guy was there on time or late. If you're late 1 minute, some people are like, you're still late. I don't care. And they put you 1 star, for example. That impacts the driver's life. I mean, that's the main source of income. So that system has to be integrated with people's well-being, the services, and the people who are delivering this system. I mean, unless you guys have robots, that's a different story. You can get drones to deliver your services, but it's really important for the companies out there that do this kind of services, is that they need to make sure that their um, delivery drivers are following the safety measures when they deliver the goods. That's really important. Yes. What is the impact of the punishment of the people who are late? Their consequence. Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Well, it has to be. So, what's the effect of being late, right? What's the impact on me being late? So, if I'm late to work, I might get scolded, I might get written, I might get a bad review, all these things. And the same thing for the delivery guys who are on the motorbikes or even the trucks. I've seen a lot of people on the trucks, they're really driving like as if they're driving a Mini Cooper. I mean, they're in a race or something. I really don't understand their logic. But so the question is like, what's the impact if they were late? Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's all about relationship, right? That's why we talk about relationship in this talk. Is that being late, it does impact the relationship between the person and themselves. Like we heard earlier, that it would make me feel like I'm guilty, that I'm not worthy enough, that I'm not good enough like other people. It really impacts the relationship with myself. It also impacts the relationship with my colleagues and my superior or even my clients. And that is very important. And I think that's really the question is like, how does that impact the relationship, or how does it impact me at work? Yeah, the manager might be angry, or my boss would be angry, or the customer would be angry and scolding me and be like, I would never want to deal with you anymore, or they get fired, or they get written, or warning, all that stuff. So it's really important from a relationship perspective for the manager or the employer, or the whether it's a company, a contract, it doesn't really matter. It's really important to manage your expectations properly and to assist your staff to make sure that they're successfully at work or at their destination, so they can be trained. You can talk to them, you can give them skills, because if they are consistent, it's not because they don't care about you, or they don't care about your business. It's just because they don't have that skill. So it's really important for your staff to learn the skills of how to manage their time, how to be able to manage their time the day before, actually, because we talked about the domino effect. So that really impacts the relationship. So that would help. So what's so important about, working on a relationship is that it would help the employee or the person who is delivering the services to you to have a motivation to be there for you, because you invested in them. You helped them out. You think that they are worthy and they are important. So therefore, they will start to give more commitment, to give you more of what you're training them to put that in practice. So that commitment is increased, that loyalty is increased, and guess what? Performance is increased. So instead of them working from 8 or from 9 to 9, uh, and um, and they run crazy across town, they would work from 9 to 12, but they're happy and they're not stressed. They don't have to work until if they're willing to work. I don't know. I don't know if anybody works 15 hours, but that's possible. Some people can put 15 hours because they want to make some money. And if that's what they want to do, and they don't need to do it in 12 hours or 8 hours, they want to do it in 12 hours, or if not 12 hours, they want to do it in 15 hours, then that's something that needs to be discussed with them, so they don't have to put themselves in danger, so they don't have to feel like they are being late. For a person who is coming to a meeting or to a function being late, so that's something that needs to be addressed. The skill needs to be developed from the employee to learn how to manage their time, to learn how to communicate if they're late, instead of being ashamed of it. They need to communicate. I'm late. Can I do something over the phone? Can we do something? Can we reschedule? What do we need to do? So that's something proactively addressing, because if it takes you an hour to go to your work and you left 5 minutes, and sometimes when I drive like an hour to go to work, if I'm 5 minutes late leaving home, I end up being half an hour late to arrive at work. So I know that it's going to be an hour and a half. So therefore, I need to communicate to the person who's waiting for me. It's like, I'm running late. I'll be there in about 2 hours. I don't say an hour and a half. I'll say an hour or 2 hours, because I know that time by getting there, I'm going to be tired. I need some time. I'm going to be stressed. I mean, can you imagine rushing to work and rushing home? How does that impact you and impact your relationship with your family? You're going to be stressed. You're going to stress everybody at home. And imagine if this is normal. What if there was an incident? Somebody made you late. So someone car accident in front of you. So you saw a car accident. You were delayed because someone wanted to talk to you about something that was not really important to you. Or I mean, it could be a lot of things that impacts your mood even more. So therefore, we need to be mindful of how we can be proactively planning our day, so we are aware of the impact of being 5 minutes late. How would that impact me to arrive? And then I can communicate. So that channel of communication is really important. The boss is not going to listen to. I was like, I'm late. The boss is like, oh, not again. Come on, what are you doing? It's like, well, I'll be there. We can discuss it, but not having that perception from the manager that sometimes a person can be late and they can discuss it and help the person to learn how to be on time is more important than questioning your staff or questioning your partner about how come they're late, or for how long how come I'm not so important in your life. And I mean, you hear this about partners as well. You have a question.
Mm, for this, right? I'm wondering if like so like giving punishments is enforcement
We need to yeah, we need to use positive enforcement. Is that what I'm hearing? For which part?
for the person who is late in order to motivate them and to work with them to be early.
Yeah, that's one way. That's one possible way to use positive enforcement, but it's not really the. It could be. It could be not the solution, because we need to understand from the person what's causing him to be late. So that has to be some kind of program at work that needs to assist people to understand what's causing to be late. Maybe they're watching over an elderly, so they're unpredictable when they leave home. Maybe they have a child that is mentally not stable or autistic or something, or maybe they have to take care of unexpected event that happened. Their, your team members, mom or sister is going divorce and they need to crash at their home, so it was late the night before, and so it could be a one-off. It could be a continuous thing. And these things that has to be discussed with the employee. So then the employee needs to put their plan so they don't become late. So that has to be discussed with the employee. And also, we'll talk a little bit more about the relationship. Yes.
I think this is more of a person in the culture. It might be also a good thing to have the other person who's waiting to give excuses to the person late, because you never know what person has been going through. Maybe just give positive, say it's okay for being late. I'll be waiting. It's okay. I don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, so what I'm hearing is like talking to the person you're waiting for. You waiting for you. You don't have to give excuses. You would just be more open, and the other person would say, "Take your time, no problem."
Yes.
Yeah, but if you have the other person is having expectations, could be a boss, it could be a partner that has been seeing you being late, or they're agitated. They might not see it the way you do. So what end up saying, like we heard before, somebody would lie. And actually there is this invention in the US. There's a booth in bars, in some bars at least. The booth is like soundproof, and you can have a sound background sound of hospitals, or or like in the freeway. You say, "Oh, I had to take my son, my friend to the emergency room." And they're in a bar, just hanging out with their friend. Yeah, and you pay money for that. And I mean, that's possible. And you can hear the paging system in the emergency room, and it's something that is available. And so these kind of inventions and these lies, it really impacts the relationship. So people can get away with being late. Now the problem is it impacts the relationship. It impacts the if it's an employee or someone attached to your organization, it's going to make them less committed. And if it's a relationship, like partners or marriage, or that's going to make the relationship distant, because I cannot be myself. I cannot be accepted that I'm late, right? I'm just always criticized for being late. So therefore, I can lie. So therefore, I have an excuse. So if the other person is more receptive of the idea that this person is having challenges in time management. So if you cannot fix it, I'm not saying like you accept it and allow them to do that, but you can assist them and support them to get better, to seek help, to reach out for um, some kind of form, like coaching. Could be therapy, it could be just talking to the boss. It can be just as simple as that. But if the boss is not easily reached, or people don't feel comfortable talking to them, they will not reach out. Or do you reach out to HR to seek for help? So that's really, really important for you to succeed and have more happiness in your relationships. Any last thoughts or questions before we wrap up? You feel like there's an area that we didn't cover? Yeah.
I think also like being late to school when we were young and stuff like that. Why would us being young children or like young adult individual be punished for being late when it's most probably not our problem and most probably adults.
Yeah, yeah, that's a very good point. Like when children go to school, they are being dropped off by the parent, by a driver, by somebody, by bus, and who gets the blame? Who gets the consequences? The students. And yeah, that's something that is not gonna make the child to feel like they're being treated fairly, and they're gonna dread going to your school. If that's your school, Mr. or Mrs. Principal, you need to change that. You need to be mindful of addressing the child's perspective. Their world is different than your expectations, so your expectations don't have to be done black and white. You really need to get out of your office more often and reach out to the students and to their parents and address them and help them out how they can make sure their children are delivered or dropped off to your school. Because if they really don't care, they're thinking of the children or the students as a product, as a person, as a thing, instead of being a person. But you really need to understand that these are people, belong in a family of people that have challenges. So you as a principal, you can be that model or that role model to help the students to be in school on time. Yeah.
I feel like our society often associates being late with punishment instead of trying to understand
Yeah.
why that person is late.
Yeah. So that's an expectation of the society. If I don't punish you, then I'm not a good person. And therefore, if I'm late, I'm going to expect to be punished. So therefore, I have to speed or I have to lie. I have to make up excuses. My grandma is going to die for the fifth time. Right? I mean, these things happen. The joke is like my grandma died. I was like, oh, we feel sorry about it. I was, oh, my grandma died. It's like, oh, again? No, no, no. This is my grandma from my wife's side. It's like, oh, and then my grandma died. Oh, this is my step grandma, and it goes on and on and on. But grandma is living fine in the other part of town, and she never died. And then when she dies, really, he gets fired because of they figured out that he's lying and he doesn't go to his mom's funeral because he couldn't afford it. He lost his job. I mean that happens. So, but you're absolutely right. Like, society, culture can have these expectations that we're still like so enclosed with that expectation. We're not able to get out of it, and that is really really a big challenge. And it needs to be. I mean, this kind of maybe a different talk is like how do you manage the cultural expectations and the cultural norm within the culture? How do you can still be normal and challenge the unaccepted cultural norm? And that's really important. So, how do we do the right thing despite the cultural norm? And this is one thing: is like if you're late, then you are punished. But I would like to start thinking about if you're late, I would like someone to help me. I mean, that should be the culture. You reach out as a community. I really like this. The Asian culture is like a community. In the U.S., is like individualistic. You need to figure it out on your own. Come on, you don't figure out. We don't need you. Here, the community culture is really really important to reach out and have these community events on how to develop these basic skills. I mean, we offer it here at Relationary. I mean, if you guys really want it, we can sponsor an event, and you guys can sign up. We're more than happy to host it. If that would help to bring in this view of the culture and how we can be more proactive to help each other to grow, let us know. More than happy to assist. Any other thoughts, questions, or comments? All right. So this is it for today, folks. Until the next talk, I wish you all happy days and stay happy. Yeah, everybody knows that. All right. So how was that?